Hi guys, hi everybody, Andrea Unger here, and I'm here with Francesco to talk about cryptocurrencies. Yes, so you might remember I was not a huge fan of trading on cryptos, but I explained why. There was a technology gap and data missing, historical data missing problem, which both are now somehow solved. Data are at our disposal. Many players in the software world provided historical data. And most important, today we can also trade directly through multi-charts on one exchange, which is Binance. So just to recap, as soon as the data were available, I did develop something to trade Bitcoin futures because, as said, there was not yet the possibility to trade directly on crypto. So I chose the future on CME, and I developed a very simple trading system, sort of an opening range breakout, which was taking the range, calculating 70% of it, adding to the high and subtracting to the low, and those were the entry points. When these were exceeded, the system was entering a position and it was then riding the trend. There was a stop loss. I introduced then a trading stop, which I'm not a fan of, but in this case it was necessary because of a number of reasons, and a take profit on a very wide distance compared to the entry point, of course. And this system was successful. I've been trading it for a while, but I was not satisfied because of two main reasons. The first reason was, and also Francesco is aware of this, that the margin requirements for the futures on Bitcoin are very expensive. And as soon as you start to trade with 2, 3, or even more contracts, you are eating out a huge part of your capital dedicated to trading. But okay, this was one minor problem somehow. The major problem are the bid-ask spreads, which are there all day long. And you often find 50 points, which is very expensive. And this was creating problems even to the system understanding if a level was triggered or not. So it was creating a mess. And it turned out to be very expensive. The costs were very high compared to what we could estimate. Systems were still profitable, but not really satisfactory at all as supposed. As soon as multi-charts opened its doors to the connection to Binance, that was a new world. Francesco is the biggest supporter of this. He has always been pulling me into this world because of his curiosity, and I'm grateful to him because I'm really enjoying what we are doing today on cryptos. One important note before leaving Francesco to his introduction is that we have not chosen cryptos because of the huge returns we all are aware about. Because those returns are sort of investments somebody could make. You sit in the crypto and you wait. The problem is you don't know when to stop waiting. You don't know when to sit in. At least I don't know, but I think Francesco is in the same position. And I believe really most of us all have a problem in managing the positions. So our purpose was to find markets which were with enough volatility to trade in a clean way with our basic models. Sort of getting back to the 80s on commodities when everything was working there. And this is what we try to do. And we found out very interesting approaches following our development method to trade on cryptos. But it was not all pleasure ride, because obviously we also found some problems. But I believe Francesco, who is the biggest fan of this and the biggest sponsor, is also who could explain better what problems he encountered and what his situation is today after, I think, 6 months of real life training. So please, Francesco, tell us about your experience.
Yeah, developing trading system on cryptocurrencies is, in a certain sense, quite easy because very simple logic tend to perform well. But I made some mistakes at the beginning. First of all, I underestimated the importance of solid infrastructure. I'm referring to a dedicated server instead of VPS. So it's so important to have a very efficient PC, because when the market is in a bull trend and for example it breaks the high, a lot of orders arrive to the exchange, and multi-charts can have some problem to connect to Binance, and some process can still wait for a response from the exchange, and the RAM, the use of the RAM become bigger and bigger, and so
when the data feed goes crazy,
yeah,
also the platform is sort of suffering because of this.
So the server can crash, and this is an issue because first of all you have to realize that maybe you are doing something else. And
you're doing something else. You're not sitting 24 hours a day in front of a monitor.
No, fortunately, it's a big advantage of systematic trading. And the other aspect is that when this happens, you just close all the position, and maybe you can lose a very good day of trading, because when the market spikes, sometimes it happens that at the end of the day you can make a huge profit, and in my experience, I lost 2 or 3 very beautiful day of trading because of the infrastructure. So
it's Murphy's law applied to trading. When something goes wrong, it creates the maximum damage possible in your account.
So my suggestion is don't you have to spend money to have an efficient machine. Yeah, that's the first suggestion. Then I started.
By the way, I remember when Francesco was suffering these problems, and he was not yet aware of the real problem. He was claiming against Binance and against multi-charts, claiming that they were not efficient, they had problems. Then he realized that he was the culprit. He was the one who didn't want to invest enough money in technology. And once he made the next step and he got to a dedicated server, all these problems suddenly disappeared. The same software versions of before. So actually, Francesco was guilty of his losses.
I have to admit. And the other issue is, the other mistake I made is to use monetary stop loss. You know, when you are trading underlying that can can make a 200% a year, it is a nonsense to use a monetary stop loss. So I changed it to a percentage stop loss, and that helped a lot with my trading system. And the other important aspect is using a volatility position sizing. So when the market is so volatile, I suggest to reduce the size of the trade and to do the opposite when we are in a low volatility environment.
As warning, Mr. Placci, if you had read my book about money management, he would have made this from the beginning.
Yeah, but I have to say that in traditional market, that is not so simple to do. But in the cryptocurrency field, you have a lot of granularity. You can really use volatility position sizing, money management techniques, and this is very important. This is another aspect I like of the cryptocurrency trading.
And this was not possible on futures because, again, there you have one contract or one. So you jump from 1 to 2 from 2 to 3. So it's not possible to trade a small or a better position size for your trading.
And the other aspect is that is a market that is available for all the capital, because commissions are calculated in percentage terms. So you don't have any disadvantage to have a small account. Obviously, you will earn less than a big account, but the performance are not affected, yeah, from your starting capital. And so I developed the 15 trading system, 14, 15, and I trade mainly Bitcoin, Ethereum, and BNB. And there is also the correlation between cryptocurrency, different cryptocurrency. I didn't realize that, but it is useful to diversify using different cryptocurrencies. One can think that they are all correlated, but it's not. Using your capital, trading different cryptocurrency can benefit your portfolio. So we can take a look, for example, at my actual portfolio. Let me share my screen. Okay. This is a report made in R from real trades, taking into account commissions and slippage and funding fee. And the red line is the cumulative equity line, the equity line of the portfolio, while the yellow is Bitcoin. As you can see, it had not a good performance. And then we have in green Ethereum, and in blue we have BNB. I started trading it later, so this is the point when the equity line start at April. And I made 60% of return with a drawdown, more or less about 30% of my capital. And this depends, at least in part, from the issues I told you before. So the infrastructure, the wrong stop loss, the not using volatility position sizing. But recently, the performance is quite good, also considering that the market had a really important drawdown, more than 50%. And this is
what I was saying before. When you invest, you sit there, you don't know what to do if you don't have a plan when things go like they did in the last months. On a system, you are telling the machine what to do depending on the moves, and you got all the rules put in place already.
Yeah, and maybe 3 months ago, I thought maybe it's better buy Bitcoin and doing nothing. But after the drawdown, you realize that managing the trade, the algorithmic approach is very important, because the risk-adjusted return is much more linear than buy and hold or other kind of techniques, in my experience, obviously. So now I have, let me check. Okay, 14 systems active. They are in position today. This is a workspace made for this video. And so you can see the automatic trading active because of that, but I have a position on the market today. And we can take a look at the equity lines. This is the first one on Bitcoin. It's a good equity line, considering what happened recently. Obviously, not all the equity lines are like this, but for example, okay, here you can say that the system stopped performing well when the market starting goes down, because I trade only on the long side. this is I prefer
also
to do
short
that.
trades in my system.
I know, but it's very difficult develop good trading system on the short side. I have 2 or 3, but
true. The market is biased to the long side, of course, due to the huge development it had. But I prefer to keep also short trades active, even for in some cases they go break even in the end of the history. But I'm ready in case it's needed.
Yeah. This is the equity line on BNB, another system. This is on BNB. So due to the drawdown, the equity line is flat now. And Bitcoin, one of the worst trading system that I have. This is another on Bitcoin, but is recovering now, the system. And we have Ethereum. It's on new all-time highs. Ethereum again, and Ethereum.
I also noticed that Ethereum is responding better than Bitcoin to most of the models.
At least in the last year, I confirm that. Yes, this is a Bitcoin. As you can see, recently the systems on Bitcoin are not doing well. Ethereum, not so good, this equity line, but I keep it. Bitcoin, this is a quite good equity line. Then we have Ethereum again, which is flat. And finally, another system on Bitcoin, which is quite good. So nothing special, as you can see, but compared to the real, what made the market recently, I'm satisfied because if we take a look at the equity line of the portfolio, or the whole equity line of all the trading system, it's satisfying to see a new peak in the equity line exactly when the market is down 50%. So this is this validates my approach, our approach to trading with trading systems.
Yes, I see this on one side as one further way to diversify my portfolio, and on the other side, the whole crypto world is really interesting because it offers different opportunities. Not only what we're seeing here, but also still trying to understand it through an algorithmic point of view. There are other opportunities. I know you, Francesco, are also running some cash and carry strategies, which is with zero risk. And when it's really zero risk, apart from failure of Binance, which I hope is not happening, of course. Of course, we're not now deepening this here, but there are interesting opportunities, especially when the market goes bullish. Now, in a bearish, these opportunities are a bit reduced, but as soon as it starts riding again, they increase. And I know you did something like 20% a month or something like that.
Yeah, I made more than 40% annualized return on 3 trades. So it was 20% of real return because the trade, the expiry of the future was after 6 months. So in annualized term, more or less 40%, but the real return was 21%, something like that. And I closed it earlier, so before the expiry, and I made it in a month. So 20% in a month is quite satisfying.
It's amazing. Doing mostly nothing, just sitting and waiting.
Absolutely.
So this is one of the reasons why I enjoy being here in this world full of opportunities. Now that, again, I want to stress this, it's open to a decent connection with all the software that we wish, especially multi-charts on the trading system part, but also on other possibilities to get and manipulate the data that we're getting. It's something which is challenging and thrilling because again, new opportunities and new adventures in the trading world are always welcome. It's a bit boring stuff normally, but when there are these new possibilities, we are all getting excited and curious. It's really about the numbers, not about the money. Money is there, of course. We are doing this as for a living, so we need to make money out of the markets. But it's interesting to do something where you can challenge your brain and then see the results, which is what often is missing in the normal world, let's say. That's it. Is there something you wish to add, Francesco?
No, at the moment, no. Maybe we can make another video in the future talking about, as you said, cash and carry, which is a very interesting aspect.
In the meantime, I invite you listeners to share your experiences on cryptos in the comments below, so that we learn from you, or is there somebody who purchased Bitcoin below 1 maybe. And generally, all experiences are interesting. As you see, we are facing this from a systematic point of view. It's not the investment in cryptos, it's trading the crypto world. But let us know what you do, what you did, if you are all trading through Binance, or if you're also using other exchanges to place your trades, or maybe you are more active on DeFi, which is not what we talked about today, but let us know. We are curious to share your information and to know about you. That's it, guys. Thanks, Francesco. Thanks for today's video. It is mostly thanks to Francesco, who pulled me into this. And keep on following us on the channel, because there is more to come. Ciao from Andrea Unger.
Ciao a tutti.
And from Francesco. Ciao.
Ciao.